Divine Couples. Your host, Naomi Slater, will awaken your passion, deepen your intimacy, and invite healing into your relationships, working towards accessing higher levels of consciousness in all areas of your life. Come with us on this journey to explore and experience your fullest potential.
You are listening to Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Thanks for joining us. I am your host, Naomi Slater, and you have tuned in to Divine Couples, adding intimacy, passion, and healing to your lives. So today we're going to be talking about polarity in relationships. And just to kind of give you an introduction into polarity through an example. So, have you ever witnessed or experienced a relationship where the woman is constantly telling her man what to do, constantly ordering him around, and ultimately sweeping the floor with him? I'm sure you've all seen this. He just kind of bows his head, waiting for the next blow. But in general, he really lives his life in fear of the next command she is going to shout his way. Have you ever witnessed or experienced a relationship where the man keeps his woman small, controlling her and forcing her to conform to some ideal, that a woman should stay home, she should be taking care of the kids, or in general, she should be modest and quiet? She also fears her man and is constantly thinking about how he will react to this or to that. She's insecure and she lives her life in his shadow. So I'm sure that you've seen these kind of relationships. They're actually quite common. This is actually an imbalance in polarity, which is ultimately stemming from an energetic imbalance in each individual in the relationship. So in Tantra, feminine and masculine polarity is extremely important in sexual relations. Only through creating a strong polarization into the two opposite poles can relationships be sexually and spiritually fulfilling. This, however, does not mean that the man needs to be what is conventionally seen as being a man all the time, in order to emulate divine masculine energy, and vice versa. So Shiva and Shakti energy, I'm sure that many of you have heard of this terminology. Tantra is really about the union and expansion of these two divine energies. So Shiva being the divine masculine, Shakti being the divine feminine. Shakti is essentially the energy of creation and intuition, and Shiva is the energy of consciousness and awareness. So the purpose essentially of Tantra is uniting these two energies. Now, traditionally, if we're going to talk about, how most people view masculine energy. So traditionally, being a man means being the provider, protecting, executing, focus, direction. So these are all very, very masculine traits. And if you examine the male sexual organ, or the lingam, the penis, when it's erect, it is very direct. It is pointing. It has a direction. It has a purpose. So this is very, very, this is divine masculine energy. That is what it is. And however, if a man is unable to be vulnerable and express his emotions, which is actually considered to be a more feminine trait, he's actually less of a man, because he's not ultimately able to open up the heart of his woman. So what I'm talking about here is, for a man to be fully masculine, he needs to also learn to embody feminine traits. This is what is going to make him a full man. I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. A woman, on the other hand, is traditionally thought of as being the caretaker, the nurturer. She's more emotional, usually intuitive. She's the creative force. However, if she is not able to fully step into her feminine power and create boundaries and take control of her life, which of course is considered to be more of a masculine trait, she will actually be less of a woman. So if you go back to the examples of these relationships that I mentioned, if she's kind of living in the shadow of her man, she will not be able to fully embody her feminine power. Okay, so she also needs to learn to embody some of these masculine traits for her to be this full embodied goddess, one that's embodying this divine feminine energy. So in sexual terms, this means that the woman needs to also know how to get on top of her man in sexual intercourse and ride him, which may be considered more of a masculine trait. And this is in a full expression of her owning her sexual energy and simultaneously knowing how to be in full surrender. So she also needs to know how to allow her man to fully penetrate her and open up her gates of love. So a woman that's able to embody both of these things, both being able to get on top of her man and ride him, and also be able to fully surrender to his love, this woman is a queen, and she embodies a well-balanced divine feminine energy. Now, the man, on the other hand, he needs to know how to lay back in full surrender, which is of course considered a more feminine trait, absorbing his woman's love and making himself more vulnerable through showing her and telling her how much he loves and admires her. So again, this is considered to be more of a feminine quality, and many men will shy away from this because they consider this to be a feminine trait. But if they're not able to embody this, if they're not able to lay back in full surrender and allow their woman to ride them, they cannot embody their full masculinity. Okay? So at the same time, he should, of course, also be able to know how to take control of sexual situations when the woman is open and willing, sweeping her off her feet and penetrating her soul. So if a man is able to embody both of these things, both full surrender to his woman's love and also being able to take control and sweeping her off her feet, this man is a king. And he embodies a well-balanced divine masculine energy. So for me personally, maintaining this polarity, this balance, has not always been easy. There have been times where it has come very naturally to me and to my partner, and other times where we really needed to adjust our behaviors, our practices, and our energy in order to strengthen the polarity between us. So I want to give some more examples so that you might be able to relate to this on a deeper level. So just some examples, more examples of relationships where the polarity is imbalanced. So the woman isn't interested in sex. Every time her partner touches her, she knows that he wants something from her. She never feels in the mood and is therefore constantly telling her partner no. She just wants to simply cuddle with her partner and doesn't want to feel this constant pressure to have sex. She sometimes feels suffocated by her partner and doesn't feel like he gives her the space she needs to open up and feel her own sexual energy. So this is very important. Women really need this. Women need space to feel their own sexual energy. Of course, if this is the situation, her partner will feel rejected, unwanted, and essentially his masculine essence is depleted. For a man to be in his masculine essence, he needs to feel wanted and desired by his woman. If he doesn't feel wanted and desired, he becomes like a little boy, not knowing how to approach her, and feeling insecure in his sexuality. Okay? Another example of an imbalance in the polarity. So the woman desires her partner. She wants him to make love to her, but he is distant and distracted, maybe with work, with other things, with his friends, with life. He barely notices when she gets dressed up for him, or he makes sarcastic remarks that make her feel self-conscious or unattractive. He is emotionally closed off to her, and no matter how much she tries to connect to him emotionally and sexually, he repels her advances. If he does have sex with her, it is to relieve his own stress and to ejaculate. She will oftentimes feel used and unsatisfied after lovemaking. She feels like he just wanted to get off. Okay, this is very, very common. So if you're connecting to one of these relationship scenarios, don't feel bad about yourself. A lot of people experience these imbalances in polarity, which will result in some of these examples. So one more. The man feels that his woman doesn't respect him or care for him. He feels that she has her own life and isn't really interested in him. He may be like a status symbol or a trophy to her that she likes to carry around, but otherwise he can sense that she is annoyed by his presence. She would much rather be with her friends, her kids, her extended family, and never really wants to do anything with him alone. She's always trying to get other people kind of into whatever interactions they have so that she doesn't have to spend very much alone time with him. Spending time with him alone is boring for her. She has nothing to talk to him about, and her life passions are fulfilled largely by others and activities that don't involve him. They sleep side by side, but live separate lives. So I'm sure that you can probably either connect to one of these scenarios, whether it be in your own personal relationship or in relationships that you see around you, whether it be the way that your parents were, or you may have friends that you can identify are in one of these polarity imbalances. So what does this really mean? An imbalance in polarity often stems from a disconnect from our emotional body. Okay? So polarity in relationships is energetic, and our emotions profoundly impact our energy. So if we have unresolved emotions and feelings, whether it be from our past or in our current relationship, the polarity will be imbalanced. Now, this can also be, from observing our parents and whatever imbalance they may have had in their relationship in the polarity. These are things that we absorb as children. And if we don't require, if we don't obtain the skills to work through the emotions that this imbalance in polarity created upon us, was bestowed upon us, it's our parents. We weren't, of course, in any way able to control that relationship. But if we don't process those emotions, those emotions and that imbalance can be transferred onto us. And then we may be experiencing the same imbalance in polarity that our parents experienced. So how do we work past this? So if both people in the relationship in question are committed to improving and working on themselves, tremendous transformation can occur. Of course, it does require looking at some of these unresolved emotions and allowing them to pass through us. It's giving these emotions expression. So not repressing and suppressing them, but allowing them to be expressed through